Arcadia Group, the British multinational fashion retailer, went into administration this week. Now, if you don't know who they are, you probably already know their brands. They own Topshop, Topman, Dorothy Perkins, Miss Selfridges, and Burton, and that's just naming a few. Now, because of this collapse, up to 25,000 jobs are at risk, which adds to the ever-growing unemployment rate here in the UK, induced by the global pandemic. What does this mean for the future of retail? Is this evidence that brick and mortar retail is dying? And are we on the brink of a retail apocalypse? That's what we're going to be going through today. But before we do, make sure you're subscribed with your notification bell turned on, and let's get started with this video. So who are Arcadia Group and what is administration? Well, as I mentioned in the intro, Arcadia Group are a British multinational fashion retailer, and they own some of the biggest high street brands around the world. And I'm going to throw up some of those brands right now. I'm pretty sure you're going to recognize a few of them. Now, as a legal concept, administration is a procedure under the insolvency laws of a number of common law jurisdictions, similar to bankruptcy in the United States. It essentially functions as a rescue mechanism for insolvent entities and allows them to carry on running their business. Now, in 2016, Sir Philip Green and Lady Tina Green, the owners of Arcadia Group, were reportedly the 5th richest people in the UK, with an estimated fortune of £4.9 billion. That's reported by the Sunday Times Rich List of that year. So what on earth went wrong? And what is behind the collapse of Arcadia Group? Well, the first thing's got to be competition. The competition for customer spend in fashion retail is intense, with online retailers like ASOS, Pretty Little Thing, and Boohoo Group coming up from pretty much nowhere, taking over the online space, dominating social media and dominating digital marketing. It makes it incredibly hard for fashion retailers with brick and mortar stores like Topshop to even compete with those new companies. There is no doubt that the online shopping industry has completely hoovered up Arcadia Group's market share. Today's shoppers would much rather go on ASOS or Boohoo and visit a permanently updated, new look fashion page, buy all the latest products, instead of trudging into their local city and having to look around and find an item that they like. Now, as consumers, our buying habits have been changing for years, but the global pandemic has pushed us even more in that direction. With lockdowns, we've spent way more time at home, and browsing high street stores is way less attractive to us than it was even a year ago. In July, Arcadia Group axed 500 roles, arguing that digital platforms failed to make up for its shortfall in sales because of shut stores. Then in September, the company was forced to go back on their decision not to pay furloughed staff their full salaries during their notice period, admitting they had got this decision wrong. So the cracks in Arcadia have become chasms, and whilst we can expect life to go back to what we can call normal in spring, that still leaves struggling retail businesses facing 5 more months of stagnant sales. Now, another factor to bear in mind is cost. Arcadia Group are a physical brick and mortar fashion retailing company. Therefore, they have huge real estate overhead costs. Online retailers do not have that issue. They have an office with a rented office with a lot of staff, with support teams and call agents and website developers, and they need to pay for stock and for items to be shipped out. Those are their overheads. They do not have real estate to worry about. So how can you compete with that level of difference when it comes to company overheads? And it's also important to consider that these large online retailers have already cemented their place within the online market space. Arcadia Group decided to launch a secondary business model, go online, and try and muscle their way into an already established market of leaders such as Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing and a whole heap of other online fashion retailers. Now, that's not to say they didn't have the opportunity to bully everyone else out, because at the time they would have had way more capital and the buying ability to do that, to spend enough money on digital advertising to completely dominate the online space, but they did it too late. Now, I just want to jump in here and say, whilst this video is based on as many facts as I could find about this scenario, these are mainly my opinion on what has gone wrong here. I'm the owner of a digital marketing agency here in the UK called The Affluent Agency. We've generated millions for companies all over the globe using digital marketing and adopting online business models. And so I know a thing or two when it comes to online business, but by no stretch of the imagination do I know the insider knowledge when it comes to Arcadia Group. There can be, or there will probably be, other large considerable factors to take into play here, but I wanted to give my opinion on what has gone wrong with Arcadia Group. And I think this is what we are seeing across retail as a whole right now. Brick and mortar retail is a struggling industry, and the global pandemic has highlighted this rather than created it. I don't think that the pandemic created the struggle of retail. I think that consumer buyer habits were always moving towards online, but the pandemic has pushed us forward in that direction, and we have moved forward years sooner than we would have done if it wasn't for that. Now, of course, I also want to add, it's terrible that thousands of people have the prospect of losing their job right now, and we can only hope and expect that one of these large online retailers will swoop in and buy Arcadia Group. Now, what they do with the group will be really interesting to see. Will they rebrand? I'm sure they'll double down on e-commerce. They will use the infrastructure that they have built because they built their company just for an online model. And it'll be interesting to see whether they can continue to make this business grow, whether they can recover it from the position it's in right now, and just where the online retail space is going to go in general, not just in fashion, but in all sub-industries. Now, there are a ton of other things I could talk about in this video today, but I feel like I'm going off on a rant now. So if you enjoyed this video, please do drop me down a comment below. Let me know what your favorite thing was about this. If this is the first time you've watched my content, come over to my channel, subscribe to me, turn your notification bell on. As I said, I'm a digital marketing agency owner. I mainly talk about marketing related content, but we are going to start talking about more world affairs, things that are going on in the business world and how that affects marketing and consumers, which are us guys. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you on my channel again very, very soon.